Which is the best operating system out there? Is it Windows, OS X, a distribution of Linux, FreeBSD, some might argue? There is no right answer. And despite that, people still continue to argue over which operating system is better. And they ask me every day, Chris, which is better, Vista or Leopard? And it's difficult for me to say because everybody has different needs. But what I find most troublesome is when people actually swallow marketing hype. I'm not talking just about Microsoft Windows or Vista's wow, but even Apple. Apple computers are computers, hardware, software. They are not without their share of flaws. And to believe that you would never run into any problems inside of OS X or on an Apple computer, yeah, that's it's kind of short-sighted, shall we say, stupid. And I'm not calling Mac users stupid, but I am calling you stupid if you actually swallow marketing hype. Now, I'm not talking specifically about features. There are some cool features inside of Leopard. Those features, I think, are worth it, you know, in terms of the price of the operating system. Some might argue that Windows Vista is fantastic. It's certainly somewhat better than Windows XP. In different ways, it's better. But you don't swallow the wow, do you? Do you really? Do you guys really buy products based on what the marketing pitch is? I mean, just because Apple and OS X is not a traditional PC or Windows doesn't make it any better, doesn't make it any worse. You can't go from one extreme to another and not expect problems along the way. In fact, you're going to run into a different set of problems. For those who would abandon, let's say, Windows for Linux, saying, oh, I'm finally free of Microsoft, well, okay, but do you understand what you're getting into? I mean, really, do you understand? Do you think that you're going to have no problems whatsoever as you roll forward with this brave new operating system? And I'm talking about anything. Whether you're switching from OS X to Windows or Windows to Linux or Linux to OS X or any one of them, you're just going to run into a different set of problems. And in some cases, you may even run into the same problems altogether. So, switching from one OS to another is not simple. But if you approach it thinking that it's going to be a flawless transition, you're fooling yourself. Don't listen to marketing. Marketing's good. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's eerily accurate. But you have to judge for yourself. You have to do your own research. Remember what I say, don't outsource your thinking. This applies to everything you do in life. If you see that people are having problems, what makes you think you're going to be any different? Just because it's a different operating system, you're going to be facing a new set of problems. And you have to accept that if you switch OSs, even when you upgrade from one flavor of an OS to another, or I should say version. The road between Tiger and Leopard, to me, wasn't as troublesome, but I'm not relying on legacy applications. For some, the road between XP and Vista was less problematic. For me, it was nothing but problems. Of course, I've seen a lot more people with issues related to the transition between XP and Vista than I have between Tiger and Leopard. I mean, we're playing the same game. The same rules apply. It's just different vendors. What you have to take into account in terms of, let's say, the problems with an Apple machine and operating system compared to that of a PCs, with Apple you don't get as much of a blame game. You know who's at fault. Whereas at the PC, you don't know if it's the OEM, you don't know if it's Microsoft, you don't know if it's a software issue, you don't know if it's a hardware issue. Because Apple's, Macintoshes, Mac computers, the hardware, are produced in a limited quantity, meaning there are only so many SKUs, so many products available, it's easier to nail down the problems, because if one person's running into it and another person's running into it, wow, there's a pattern suddenly. It's not as easy to nail down within the world of Windows, and to a larger degree inside the world of Linux. So I just have to establish that just because you switch OSs doesn't mean that you're in the free and clear. It's just not the case. Don't swallow marketing hype. Do your research, and in many cases, if you are considering a switch from one to the other, don't do it cold turkey. You know, I've had several Macs in my house for years, and only now am I considering the switch when the new Mac Pros are announced, whenever that happens to be, and whatever happens to be announced. I know I'm close to something because Intel's going to be releasing their Penring core here real soon. But I've seen a few blog posts out there that were saying, oh, Apple's just as bad. No, you're just as crazy for swallowing marketing hype. Sorry. Love y'all, but this is just a stark reality. Try it as much as possible. You know, if you don't have access to a Mac, let's say, maybe your friend does, spend some time with it. Or walk into the Apple store. You know, if you can spend time with it before you actually jump into it, you're going to be better off. And understand that it's hardware and it's software, no matter how you slice and dice it. Okay? So, every OS sucks. Get over it. Choose whichever one fits your lifestyle. Mac fanboys are just as bad as Windows fanboys, are just as bad as Linux fanboys. And girls. Don't want to be gender biased here, because we all use computers. And they're all just as horrible and sucky. The question is which one sucks the least? What do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I off my rocker? Or am I on my rocker? Let me know. Email me, chris@perillo.com, if you'd like to extend this discussion into your own blog, wherever that happens to be. Feel free to embed this video, share it with friends. And then you're also welcome to swing by the chat room, where we're typically talking about this stuff. It you know, is wide and varied, the topics that flow through our channel. And you can find us typically talking tech 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at live.perillo.com. See you later.